Hey guys, this is not financial advice, and today we're going to be taking a look at NVDA. So, one of the hottest stocks of late 2023, one that's definitely catching a lot of people's attention. So, we can see that the price is $455 a share. My question is, what is the value of NVIDIA by share? So, selling off almost 2% today. Let's start by taking a look at the price performance of NVIDIA for all time and sort of see where we're at. So, you guys, the stock is up a lot since they went public in 1999, but the stock really started to move somewhere around 2016. And so, this thing that we see in stock price versus stock value is the intrinsic value of the company essentially moves in a straighter line, and the price is going to trade above and below and at and then above and below and then at intrinsic value. So if we sort of look at this trend line here, we can see in a straight line that it appears to be overpriced, which is very, 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 very crude. um, but we can see here that, let's take this tool off and then just sort of get back to this trend line and see what a mean reversion would equal for this stock. So let's go back, back. Then hit X on this, hit refresh on this. So what would a mean reversion for this stock be? Remember where that trend line was? So mean reversion would be somewhere around $300. So we're going to come back to that. But in case you don't know about the software we're using, let me give a quick shout out for Qualtrum. So this is a paid stock analyzing software service that I am a customer of. I'm a customer of Qualtrum's. So I'm using their software today, but in no way am I affiliated with Qualtrum. And if you're interested in gaining access to this same software that I utilize to do valuations on my companies I invest in, I'm going to leave a link for Qualtrum in the description below. This would be a great time. Click like, share, and subscribe on the video. Turn bell post notifications on. But we've seen the price, and we're going to be utilizing NVIDIA's data here on Qualtrum to get an idea of the fair value. So we're going to just take a look at some of the ratios. So trading at a forward PE of 40, which is expensive. Free cash flow yield of around 1%, which is something. We can see that they have a lot of cash on hand right now, 16 billion, twice as much as they have debt, around 8 billion in debt. They pay a minuscule dividend of 0.04% at a 4% payout ratio. So lots of room to grow that dividend. Not sure that's what their interest level is. I think the dividend is posted, issued, and paid simply to allow NVIDIA to be traded on dividend appreciation ETFs, which is certainly a smart financial decision to keep the volume in the stock high by having it included in passive indexing. So we can see all the data that we're going to be needing to utilize NVIDIA's fair value per share on a DCF basis. But in case you're not familiar with NVIDIA, you've been living under a rock, we're just over here and we can see essentially everything you need to see. Pause it if you want to look in a little bit more fine detail, but NVIDIA is a fabless chip company, which means that they don't make their own chips. They're made somewhere else. Okay. So they do GPUs, which is graphic processing units. A lot of other things that are very confusing that I'm sure most investors in NVIDIA don't understand. I'm not going to pretend that I do either, but additionally, they offer APIs, which is application programming interfaces for data science and high performance computing. Okay, I think that makes sense. As well as systems on a chip units, mobile computing, and automotive. I think that makes sense as well. NVIDIA, dominant supplier of AI hardware and software. Yes, we've heard about that. So they also have some other things that they do around supercomputers. So they're pretty dominant in providing chips necessary for supercomputing sites around the world. So national and international revenue, and a few other things. smartphones, tablets, vehicle navigation, entertainment, AI-powered software for audio and video game processing. So everything from phones to cars to computers to AI to super computing as well. And then all those great buzzwords like AI, large language model. My understanding is NVIDIA's chips are utilized for ChatGPT, which has been quite helpful around my house. So there's a lot of buzz around this stock. And let's look at the value of the stock. We're going to see some things that are interesting. So when we look at NVIDIA's free cash flow on a quarterly basis, what we have adding up for this year's cash flow, I think there's just 3 quarters that have reported. So we want to look on this quarterly basis here and notice that a year ago, they lost $1 billion, but last quarter, they made over $5 billion in stock-based compensation adjusted free cash flow. So a lot of the valuations or the price and momentum that's behind NVIDIA is extrapolating this. So 1 quarter of free cash flow that equaled the cash flows probably over the last 2 years. So in 1 quarter, they've done as much cash flow as they've done approximately in 6 or 8. People are really projecting that forward very far into the future. So if someone has a crystal ball, they should go all in on NVIDIA, but I'm not sure if we could expect this indefinitely. But I'm going to be using some aggressive forecasts when looking at growth rates. So we're going to go back to the annual view, look at free cash flow for NVIDIA. So they had a big year in 2022. Once all these quarters are tallied up, probably be higher here. We see free cash flow going up and to the right. So if we go back by 10 years, we've seen free cash flow growing by about free cash flow growing steadily up into the right, but now it's just jackknife straight up. And so how much of that do we want to project forward into the future? Okay, so we have that understanding. You're generating free cash flow. That's great. Let's look at revenue up into the right, spiking sharply. This is worth a second look. So over the last 10 years, they've averaged 20.25% growth per year over the last 10 years. It's actually very, very, very impressive. But you would expect to see that in this high-end technology space. So let's look at shares outstanding, see whether they're diluting us or not. It's not terrible. Not terrible, pretty steady. So they're able to I bet they're able to earn some high returns on issued debt or equity. And yeah, they are. So they're doing about right around 20% return on capital employed on an annual basis over the last 7-8 years. So they're a highly profitable company at this point, to say the least. It's been up and down, but 20% is a good number on ROCE. So let's see what else we can find. Oh, this will be illuminating. Let's look at what insiders are doing with their shares, be it buying or selling. Remember, the only reason someone who's an insider buys a share is because I think the price is going to go up. Now, although insiders can sell shares for many reasons, I do find it to be a little bit of a bellwether about an insider's perception of the value of the stock. So this is the CEO. He sold NVIDIA stock. Following this data, it looks like he sold NVIDIA stock like 18 times on one day a few weeks ago. So he's viewing this as a pretty rich price. So insiders are dumping stock hand over fist. So we've gotten everything that we need here to be able to figure out a fair value estimate. And, we've talked about it a little bit. Before we go on and see my fair value estimate for NVIDIA stock, let's make sure to hit like, comment, share, subscribe, and bell post notifications on. And if there's a stock that you'd like for me to review, you can just leave that 3-letter ticker symbol in the comments below, and I'd be happy to review the stock for you here tonight or tomorrow. All right. So definitely take advantage of that if you've enjoyed these videos. But looking at the stock, we can see the average on the free cash flow. I did go ahead and made sure that they got credit for their outstanding last 3 quarters. But it looks like on average, they're doing about $4.7 billion of free cash flow on an annual basis, $16 billion in cash, $8 billion in debt. Shares outstanding is flat, and data is taken from Qualtrum. Now, keep in mind, in 1 quarter, they just did as much free cash flow as they had done in the previous 6 or 8. And so a lot of that's being projected forward, and there's a lot of different earnings revisions upward based on that. And so the question is, how long can you project that into the future? So ChatGPT has been driving this market all year. They've pretty easily done 20% revenue growth for the last 10 years. And so we understand that it's unlikely that they're going to do $5 billion free cash flow every quarter forever. But giving them a lot of credit, let's say that they could sustain. So macroeconomic potential recessions that happen every couple decades, competition, black swan events, who knows? But let's just give them a really rosy forecast. The stock's definitely priced to perfection. So let's do a little stress test on it here. If they've been able to do 20% growth a year for the last 10 years, let's say that they accelerate and maintain at 27.5% growth for the next 5 years. Okay. And then I'll give them credit for what they've done in the last 10 years. And we'll say after these next 5 years, with a huge leap forward in AI and all those other buzzwords, that they still maintain for an additional 10 years as a large cap international company. So if they maintain at 20% a year for years 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, it'd probably be something like a bajillion market cap company. So it'll, at this level, they'll be the biggest company ever of all time. So that's how people are pricing the stock. So let's just play with this and do a stress test on it. Terminal multiples should never be this high, but I think thanks to NVIDIA stock, it's going to be like the Jetsons. We're going to have flying cars and computer robots that tell us what to do with our daily routines. So we'll just say that into the future, they're doubling their revenue. Every at 7%, they become twice as big of a company every 10 years until it's like Demolition Man, where it's welcome to Taco Bell, brought to you by NVIDIA. Discount rate of 10%. So price on the stock is $448. I'm going to do a little bit of just of it. We'll see my fair value right now. So we have 448 is what's on the stock. Based on these very aggressive projections, I come up with a fair value of $305. $305 on a $448 stock. And just to sort of see where the rest of the market's at, we'll take a quick peek. I don't usually do this. I might start doing it more, but we're just going to do a sniff test here and see what other smart people are saying. So Morningstar had previously rated the stock at being worth 300 a share. Dave revised that higher to 480. So they're at 480. The stock is trading at 448, and I think the value is 305. And I actually don't think that, because I don't think that these growth rates are going to be accurate. This one could be accurate, but I'm not sure in 8 and 9 and 10 years from now, with how large of a company they already are, that they'd be able to maintain that growth, because essentially they would, and this is very high level math, which is lots of zeros on the end of it, but just with the basic understanding, growth at this rate would, essentially make them as profitable or as enriched of a company as probably the whole gross domestic product of the United States. Don't necessarily see that happening. So fair value might be 305. I think it's probably less than that. Insiders are dumping shares left and right. Is it time to buy? That's up to you, because this is not financial advice. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.